Hey guys, DC Network here, coming at you with another video. Bakugan is a franchise that's had a bit of a storied past, whether it be the original run in the first generation ending and failing, going to Generation 2 with Battle Planner, or even Generation 3 which was a complete and utter failure. The franchise has definitely had its ups and downs throughout the years, but did you know that there's actually another Bakugan series that most people don't even know exists? For those of you that don't know the timeline when it comes to Bakugan Battle Brawlers came out all the way back in 2008 and was followed up by New Vestroia, then Gadalian Invaders, and then Mectanium Surge, where we saw the franchise really fall off and just get straight up cancelled entirely in 2012, and it didn't really have a resurgence until the Bakugan reboot being Battle Planet, which premiered all the way back in 2018. But did you know that in between Battle Planet and Mectanium Surge, there was another iteration of Bakugan that only came to Japan, and it was called BakuTech Bakugan, and it premiered on TV Tokyo on April 7th of the year 2012 and concluded on March 30th of the year 2013, having a full 51 episode first season. And quite frankly, it is the home to some of the coolest Bakugan designs we have ever gotten in the franchise. So obviously BakuTech never came to the US, so it was something that kids here in America never got their hands on, but recently I decided, since there's no Generation 4 of Bakugan, I kind of miss the franchise right now. I kind of want to start collecting some older Bakugan until we get a new generation of Bakugan coming in the pipeline whenever that happens. If you want to hear my thoughts on when that could be happening, I'll leave a card above to that video, but nevertheless, I started looking into some Generation 1 Bakugan, right? Some B1 and B2 Bakugan from Battle Brawlers, New Vestroia, Gadalian Invaders, and Mectanium Surge. Some of the ones that I had as a kid that, I no longer have my childhood collection, so I'm trying to get some of the ones I used to have again, and in doing so, I started scrolling and I was like, you know what? I don't have any BakuTech Bakugan, and I would love to get my hands on some of them just to see what they're like, because I've heard that these are some of the coolest Bakugan that the franchise has ever had to date. So I ended up buying a handful of BakuTech Bakugan on eBay. It's really hard to find them in good condition because, again, these are children's toys from over 10 years ago that a lot of them have heavy signs of wear and were played with a lot, so it's really hard to find, but nevertheless, I got my hand on a handful of them, and let me just say, these are by far some of the coolest Bakugan I have ever set my eyes on. Just like people were saying, they live up to the hype. So first and foremost, the first one I got is Flare Dragoon, however you say that. It's essentially your Dragonoid, if you will, of the BakuTech Bakugan, and some of the names are a little bit weird because they were never really translated, officially. This is just rough translations from Japanese that people have made, the fans have made. But anyways, we have Flare Dragoon. He's essentially, as I said, the Dragonoid of the generation. As you can see on screen, he has a lot of different evolutions and whatnot, but this one's the face. This is your, base form Dragonoid for BakuTech, if you will, and I think it's one of the coolest looking Dragonoid like Bakugan that we've ever gotten. Of course, there's a lot of evolutions to it, but this is the cheapest one you can buy on eBay. It goes for around $20 to $30. The other ones, some of his evolutions you're looking at over $100 to get your hands on, but this is one of the cheaper ones. Then I got one, I don't know the name offhand, but I got one that is literally a ball that pops open into a cannon, akin to kind of your battle gear from the original series of Bakugan, the original generation, I should say. But this is an actual Bakugan. It's not a battle gear. It's straight up a cannon, and all of these have metal parts on them, and they have different systems and whatnot that came to the franchise, one of which is called BakuTech Convert System, which essentially enables you to exchange parts of different materials between Bakugan. So some Bakugan have little pegs that go into their arms. The arm piece has these pegs that go into them. Some of them have plastic pieces while others have metal pieces. So Flare Dragoon has a metal piece that has a dragon sticker on it. You can interchange that with another Bakugan to make your own custom combinations, which I think is such a cool thing that they introduced in this version of the franchise. There's another Bakugan called Grand Panzer that I haven't gotten my hands on personally, but it is one of the coolest looking Bakugan I have ever seen, and you can say that for a wide variety of these BakuTech Bakugan. In addition to that, there is another system that BakuTech introduced called the Bind System, and essentially what this is, it's similar to Baku Mutants from the original generation of Bakugan, and it's similar to just Generation 3 Bakugan in them of themselves, where essentially you can split a Bakugan in half, mix and match different combinations with other Bakugan, just like I said with Gen 3. The top slides off the bottom, you can make your own custom combinations, same exact concept there. But overall, I think BakuTech Bakugan is just such a cool and unique iteration of Bakugan. I really don't know much at all about the anime and what that entailed, but I just know from looking at the toys themselves, they are some of the coolest Bakugan we have ever gotten, and I just think it's a a shame that, these never came to the US, and they're quite frankly ridiculously expensive in a lot of cases to get your hands on, just because, they never came to the US, and at that point in time, Bakugan was a failing franchise. It wasn't exactly something that was selling like hotcakes like it was with Battle Brawlers, so a lot of these BakuTech Bakugan are really, really rare and hard to get your hands on. In totality, there's actually not a ton of BakuTech Bakugan. I believe there's only 78 product releases for it, some of which include re-releases of prior BakuTech Bakugan, and a few of which also include some re-releases of Gen 1 Bakugan just in the BakuTech line. Like, for example, Delta Dragonoid got a re-release in BakuTech, even though it's an original Bakugan from Gen 1. The last thing I'll say about BakuTech that I think is really interesting is, how Bakugan has its attribute system? Well, Generation 1 obviously had Pyrus, Darkus, Subterra, Aquos, Ventus, and Chaos. Those were the 6 attributes from the first generation of Bakugan. Those are all still present in BakuTech, but what's interesting to me is the Bakugan releases, they only got released in their own faction. So what I mean by this is, like, for example, how in Generation 1 in Battle Brawlers, you could get a Darkus Dragonoid or a Ventus Dragonoid in addition to getting the Pyrus Dragonoid, which obviously the Pyrus Dragonoid is the main faction for Dragonoid. Well, in this version of Bakugan being BakuTech, the Flare Dragoon, which is the, new version of Dragonoid for this iteration, can only be purchased in Pyrus. Grand Panzer can only be purchased in Subterra, and so on and so on. They did not release different factions or different attributes for these Bakugan, which I find rather interesting because it kind of defeats the whole, collection aspect of it, or trying to get all the Bakugan in different colors. So it's kind of curious to me why they decided to move away from that for this iteration, for this version of Bakugan. But yeah, like I said before, BakuTech Bakugan is probably some of the coolest Bakugan we have ever gotten in the franchise. I mean, some of these designs are just absolutely incredible, and just the quality of the Bakugan themselves is really a step up from what we had in Generation 1, and it's really a shame that this is kind of lost to time, because I feel like most people don't know about this, given that it only ever came to Japan, and it didn't exactly have a long run either. It only had a run of 51 episodes over the span of about a year, and it only had like 78 product releases, a lot of which were re-releases from Gen 1 and even re-releases within BakuTech. So this is something that definitely flew under the radar at the time, and I hope that, when they go do Gen 4, they could do something similar to BakuTech and just make these really cool, pro level Bakugan, if you will, because that's kind of what it feels like. It feels like Bakugan Gen 1 from, Battle Brawlers all the way to Mectanium Surge was like, here are your Bakugan for kids. And to me, it kind of feels like BakuTech is like, these are your pro series Bakugan. These are the ones that are meant for adults to play with and, play in tournaments and whatnot. It just seems like it's next level like that. And I hope whenever they decide to revisit Bakugan, like I said before with Generation 4, they take a hard look at it and look at what made the franchise great all throughout time, and see that, hey, maybe we had some ideas within BakuTech, like the bind system or even the convert system, that could really drastically change the way people look at Bakugan and people play the game. But again, that remains to be seen. We'll see what happens in the future with Bakugan. But for now, let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about all of this. Did you know that BakuTech was a thing? And if you did, do you have any in your personal collection? I'd love to hear which BakuTech Bakugan you have and if you knew about this. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from DC Network. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.